Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
And you can see my screen also.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
So yesterday we had discussed the syllabus of organizational behavior. That is, we had taken an overview of what we will be discussing in the organizational behavior syllabus. So we will be starting today with the first unit, organizational behavior is one of the most interesting and simple. It is one of the most interesting, simple, and high scoring subject. So result of previous batches in organizational behavior is very, what we can say is very good. So we will start with it. So organizational behavior, it's a combination of two terms. One is organization and the other one is behavior. So we all know what organization is, and we are aware of the meaning of behavior also, because since childhood we have heard this word behavior, that behave properly, you should not behave in this particular manner. So that behavior, it's not a new word to us, it's a word which we have been knowing since our childhood. Organization, in simple words, we can say that organization is a place where people come to achieve a common goal. That is an organization. So in a more simplified manner, we can say the people who are working in an organization, study of those people behavior who are working in an organization is called as organizational behavior. So very simple. Here we will be studying the behavior of the employees who are working in an organization. So that is called as organizational behavior. I'll read the definition quickly. It is very simple. A field of study that investigates the impact that individuals, groups, and structure have on behavior within organization for the purpose of applying such knowledge towards improving an organization's effectiveness. So this particular definition is divided into two parts. First half talk about impact of, it is investigating the impact of individual, groups, and structure. Individual, we all know that a single employee is called as individual. Group, when number of people come together, it is called as group. So teams in an organization, how these teams perform or how they affect, their performance affect the organization's profitability or growth. And also we will be investigating, or organizational behavior investigate the structure. Structure means the environment of the organization, the hierarchy of the organization, how that hierarchy is, how that environment in the organization is. Now in the picture you can see that number of people are there and everyone is laughing, everyone seems to be happy. If such an environment is provided in the organization, then the productivity will definitely increase. Then the quality of the product will definitely increase. Then the after sale service of the organization will definitely increase. So what is expected is that how the environment is provided in the organization. So that we are going to study. So that is the first part. And the second part says that if the managers are aware of organizational behavior, they can apply the principles of organizational behavior towards improving an organization's effectiveness. So first part says that organizational behavior investigates the impact of individual, group, and structure on their behavior. The second part says that if the managers are having knowledge of organizational behavior, they can use that knowledge towards improving the organizational effectiveness. So that is what we are going to study in organizational behavior. In case of any query, please stop and ask your question. So one definition we will be discussing of organizational behavior. OB is a field of study that investigates the impact of individuals, groups, structures that we have already discussed. So we will skip this. This. Now it is said that there are many definitions of OB. There are number of psychologists. There are number of human resource specialists. There are number of professors who have given their own definition of organizational behavior. So definitions of OB are many. However, three important points should be included in each and every definition, or most of the definition we can say concentrates on these three basic points. So first point is OB is the study of organizational behavior. Very simple. As the name of the subject itself says, organizational behavior, very easily we can know that we are going to study what? Here we are going to study human behavior. We are not going to study the other aspects of business. That is, we are not going to study here marketing. We are not going to study here finance. We are not going to study here operations. What we are going to study here? We are going to study here organizational behavior. How people in organization behavior and how their behavior is linked now. The study is about behavior in the organization. Now here we have to know the behavior of an individual, of group of employees who are working in the organization when they are working in the organization. We are not going to study how they are behaving with their family members, how they behave in their home, but we are going to study how these individual employees and group of employees and teams, when they are at workplace, how they are behaving. That is what we are going to study. Next one, knowledge about human behavior would be useful in improving organizations' effectiveness. If the manager is having knowledge about human behavior, she can use this knowledge of human behavior towards organizational effectiveness. So that is the definition. Now we will talk about the evolution of organizational behavior, how this particular discipline behavior evolved. That we are. So there are certain phases, years together for creation of a separate course, separate discipline that is called as organizational behavior. Earlier, after industrial revolution, now everybody is aware of industrial revolution also. So what can anybody is? we are talking about the first industrial revolution. We are not talking about we are not talking about we are talking about first industrial revolution, which you have studied in civics. You have studied this particular subject, industrial revolution, or in history you might have studied this industrial revolution. So in late 17th century, industrial revolution started taking place. Before that, every production was, or most of the production was done manually with the help of hands or the handheld tools. Machines were very less used in production. Industrial revolution in European countries and particularly in United Kingdom, it all began in late 17th century, when some of the industrialists, they started manufacturing product mechanically or with the help of machines. So that was the industrial revolution. Later on, when it started spreading all over the world, then number of people who were working in the organization started increasing. When number of people who were working in the organization started increasing, then it was realized by the industrialists that there has to be a separate department who would calculate their salary, who will maintain their records, that how many people are working in an organization, their in time, their out time. So everything will be taken care by a separate department, and that department used to be called as labor welfare department or labor management department. Earlier it was called as, later on it was changed to labor welfare department. So slowly and steadily, the evolution of human resource management department taking started coming into existence. So after human resource development or human resource department, then there were many, we can say that this Henry Fayol was there, who was responsible for the evolution of OB, then Elton Mayo. All these are renowned psychologists who had immensely contributed towards the development of organizational behavior. They were the people who were of the opinion that OB should be a separate branch of study. It should not be combined with human resource management, but it should be a separate branch of study. Now, that was the evolution of human resource management. Now we will be talking about the evolution of organizational behavior. It all began with Henry Fayol in 1916. And his contribution was, he has given 14 principles way back in 1916. And he was of the opinion that there has to be distribution of work if the organization wants to grow. If the organization wants to be profitable, the first thing the organization should do is distribution of work. So he advised, or he formulated 14 principles of management. The three important principles are administrative management, principle of governing behavior, and management quality. So he was the first person who introduced these principles separate, that every department should be separate. It should not happen that one day the person is working in finance department, next day if somebody is absent in marketing department, that person is shifted to marketing department. Again, next day some person is missing from the human from the operations department, so that person is shifted to the operations department. So if such things is happening in the organization earn profit in the long run. So it has to distribute the work. So administrative management should be separate, which should uh, govern the administration, and the governing council or governing management should be different. Then management quality means what? That quality people should organization based on their qualification, based on their skills, based on their abilities, based on their knowledge. So that was way back in 1916, was the opinion of Henry Fayol. Then the next important psychologist was Elton Mayo. Elton Mayo, who was a professor at Harvard University, he conducted 3 experiments, and those experiments were called as Hawthorne experiments. Now, the result or conclusion of these experiments were that human beings are to be treated like humans. They should not be treated mechanically like machines. Suppose if a machine stops working, or machine a part of a machine has developed some problem, the easiest way is that replacing that part or repairing that particular machine. So machines and human beings are different, and that was the opinion of Elton Mayo. So he said, if a person is not performing on the job, removing the person from the job, the organization should try to go to the root cause of the problem. If they should try to find out why the person is not performing. If earlier, for 1 year, for 2 year or more period, he is working in the organization and he is continuously performing, but all of a sudden if the person stops performing, instead of removing that particular employee, the organization should try to go to the root cause of that particular problem and try to uh, counsel that person. And if there are some problems, some personal problems are there or other problems are there, the company, the organization should try to solve those problems. So that was the opinion of Elton Mayo. Then came Abraham Maslow. Abraham Maslow was of the opinion that money is one of the most important motivating factor, but money is not the only motivating factor. In 1954, when he came up with need hierarchy theory, or it is also called as Maslow's hierarchy theory, the conclusion of this theory was that yes, money is one of the most important motivating factor, but we cannot say that money is the only motivating factor. Before 1954, most of the organization used to believe that if you want to motivate the employee, the easiest way to motivate the employee is increase the salary of the employee, and automatically the employee will start producing more productivity or more efficiently or effectively. So that was earlier thought. But after the need hierarchy theory or Maslow's hierarchy theory, it was proved that money is not the only motivating factor. Maslow conducted various studies in various organizations, and he came up with the conclusion that there are certain needs at different hierarchy. If these needs are met, then there is surety that the person will feel motivated and the person will work more efficiently, and he will be increasing his productivity also. That was the conclusion. So five theories or five hierarchies are there. First hierarchy is called as physiological or basic needs. Second hierarchy is called as security needs. Third hierarchy is called as social needs. Fourth hierarchy is called as esteem needs. ESTEEM, esteem needs. And the fifth and ultimate hierarchy is called as self-actualization. So the study which Abraham Maslow conducted, he said that when the employee joins the organization, at that particular moment, when he has to feed the family of 4 people, 5 people, or more than that, at that particular time, he is in need of money desperately because he wants to earn money. He wants to earn more and more money. Why he wants to earn more money? Because he wants to satisfy his basic needs. And at that particular time, in 1954, basic needs were what? What were the basic needs? Or it is also called as physiological needs. Yes, can anybody tell me what were the basic needs during those periods? We are not talking about basic needs nowadays, because nowadays the basic needs have changed. Earlier, there were basic needs of what? Dash, dash, dash.
Food, cloth, and shelter.
Yes, very good. Food, clothing, and shelter. That was the basic needs at that particular time. Now things have changed. So what he said is that when the person joins the organization, if he is from a very average family or below average family, his first need will be that he wants to satisfy his basic need of food, clothing, and shelter. So the organization should pay him. So when he has satisfied his basic needs, that for 1 year, for 2 years, for 3 years, money is the most important, or we can say money is the only motivating factor for this particular gentleman, because he wants to fulfill his basic needs. But after 1 year, after 2 years, after 3 years, when his basic needs are met, when he has good clothing, when he has good house, when he has good food, and when he can very efficiently look after his family of 3, 4, or 5 or more people, then money becomes the next important factor. Then it doesn't remain the only motivating factor, because his basic needs are met. Then Maslow said, then the person, the organization should realize now his basic needs are met. Now if we want to motivate this particular gentleman, we have to fulfill his second need. Second need is what? Security needs. Security means what? Job security here we are talking about. If the organization provides him job security, the person will feel motivated. For how long? For say 6 months, for 1 year, for 2 years, for 3 years. So after fulfilling his security needs, again, it is not there for a longer period of time. They for 10 years, for 20 years, or more than that. After 1 year, after 2 years, after 3 years, or maybe after 4 years, once he feels, the employee feel that now his job in the organization is secure, then to motivate him, the organization should see to it that his next level need should be targeted and that should be fulfilled. Then only he will be motivated. And what is his next need? Next need is social need. Social need. Now, a very common saying is there, which we all have heard, and that saying is, man is a social animal. Man is a social animal and who loves to be with other human beings. Every one of us, very few of us would like to say, okay, throughout life we want to be alone. Very few people are there. If you want, for whole life you want to be alone, then who are you? Then you have become what? Then you have become a sadhu, a sannyasi. So if normally people love the company of friends, relatives, or family, because human beings are considered as social animals. So now the person who has joined the organization, he has fulfilled his first need, that is physiological need. Then his security need is also fulfilled by the organization. Now he wants good friends in the organization. If he is having good friends means his subordinates, his peers, his superiors. If he is enjoying working in the organization with his superiors, with his subordinates, and with his peers, that means his social need is getting met. If suppose, just assume a scenario that employee A is working in an organization, but he doesn't enjoy working with his teammates, he doesn't have good relations with his superiors, and he often fights with his subordinates. If such is a situation prevalent for Mr. Way A in the organization, can we say or can we confirm that Mr. A will be there in that particular organization for a longer period of time? No, he is not going to be there in the organization. Why? Because if you are spending 8 hours or more than that in an organization, and if you are sending this much of time in the organization with different people, and if you do not enjoy working with them, you are not going to stay in that organization for a longer period of time. You will start searching for other opportunity, and this is where the organization has seen to it that the person is enjoying the company of superiors, the person is enjoying the company of peers, the person is enjoying the company of the subordinates. If such thing happens, then the organization can assume that yes, this particular gentleman can be retained in the organization for a longer period of time because his social needs are met. Now that is need number 3. Now, need number 4 is esteem needs, or it is also called as status needs. Now, suppose a person is there in the organization, his first need is met, second need is met, third need is met, and he is there in the organization for the last, say, 6 years, 7 years, or maybe 10 years. Now, once 3 needs are met, and the organization wants to motivate this particular gentleman again, because the organization has observed that for last few months his production is decreasing, his efficiency is not at that mark which used to be earlier. Then the organization, what Abraham Maslow said, then that organization should realize that now it is time to fulfill his fourth need, and that is called as esteem need or status need. After working for so many years in the organization, now we as a human being want to be respected in the organization. Before that, we wanted to enjoy the company of our peers, superiors, or subordinates. Now, after 10 years, the person wants a status in the organization, that I should be respected by the subordinates, I should be respected by the peers, I should be respected by the superiors. That is the thinking of the person. And if the organization is able to fulfill that particular need of the person, then the person will again start improving his efficiency or improving his performance. And that is called as self-esteem need. Now, the last need which Abraham Maslow gave is the self-actualization. Very few people can fulfill this particular need of self-actualization, because here the organization as well as the individual themselves have to work hard so that this particular need is met. There are number of studies carried out to find out whether the research which was conducted by Abraham Maslow is right or not. And most of the studies have found that yes, the research was right. And further, the research has concluded that only 1%, only 1% of employees who join the organization can fulfill or are able to fulfill their last need, and that is called as self-actualization. So self-actualization is a need which is very difficult to be fulfilled. Now, why it is very difficult to be fulfilled? The reason is very simple. When a person joins the organization, now suppose after 1 year, when you will be joining the organization as a management trainee or as an assistant manager or as an executive, during your first days, you will start planning for your growth in the organization, or you will start your planning for your career, that after 5 years I want to achieve this particular position, after 10 years I want to be at this particular position, and before retirement I want to become CEO of the organization or MD of the organization or general manager of the organization. Now, why very few people are able to fulfill this particular need? Reason is very simple, because the positions of managing director, positions of CEO, or other top most positions of the organizations are very few in nature. 100 people will join the organization as management trainee, as officers, as executive. Now, these 100 people may have the same dream of becoming CEO of the organization after 20 years, after 25 years, or after 30 years. But all these 100% cannot achieve that particular position. One person among that 100 is only going to achieve that particular position. Or maybe somebody from outside may achieve that particular position. So that is the reason why very few people are able to achieve this last stage of need hierarchy. So that was related to the contribution of Abraham Maslow to the field of organizational behavior. Now, the next important psychologist is called as Douglas McGregor. In 1960s, Douglas McGregor, he came up with a new idea, and he said that my theory is more practical, more result oriented than the theory of Maslow. So Maslow's need hierarchy theory and Douglas McGregor's theory of theory X and theory Y, both are different. So McGregor was of the opinion that his theory is better and his theory is more result oriented than the theory of Abraham Maslow. Now he said that there are two type of people. One fall in the category of theory X, and the other set of people who are working in an organization, they fall under the set of theory Y. So if 100 people are working in the organization, some people will be categorized under can be categorized under theory X, whereas some people can be categorized as under theory Y. So what is theory X and what is theory Y? He has explained, and it is very simple. McGregor said that theory X represent people. Theory X represent people who do not like work, who are always negative in nature, or they are having negative type of attitude, who do not enjoy their work, or who hate their work, we will say. And even after increasing their salary, they are not going to increase their performance. Now, these type of people he categorized as theory X. Now, theory Y, he said that there are people who are working in the organization who are internally motivated. These people are highly motivated. These people are having positive attitude towards the organization or towards their job, towards their work. These people are always ready to work more for the organization, and they are always having positive attitude towards the organization, towards the work also. So these two type of people are there. So what he said is that organization should first categorize who are theory X type of employees and who are theory Y type of employees. Then the organization should concentrate on converting these theory X type of employees to theory Y type of employees. If a person is having negative attitude, then that person should be converted to a positive attitude. So that was the contribution of Douglas McGregor. Now, the next important contribution was of Henry Mintzberg. Now, before that, now further Douglas McGregor's theory was improved by one more professor whose name was William Uchi. And he came up with another theory, and that theory he gave was called as theory Z. Now, in 1960s, when McGregor gave this theory X and theory Y, at that particular time, there was a Asian country called Japan. which was making tremendous progress. Now we all are aware what happened during the last phase of World War II. Atomic bombing was there on Japan. The two most popular or most profitable cities of Japan, Hiroshima or and Nagasaki, they were bombed by the Air Force of US, and there was complete destruction of Japan in 1945. But after 1960s, Professor that Japan is progressing much faster as compared to other developed European countries or other Asian countries or other developed Western countries. Now he tried to find out the reason behind that fast progress. How a country which was completely devastated in World War II can progress so fast. And then he realized one phenomena, and that phenomena he named as his particular theory, and that theory was called as theory Z. And it was there in 1970s and 1980s. This particular theory was very popular in 1970s, in 1980s, or we can say in some part of 1990s also. Now he said that the reason behind the progress of Japanese companies is the employees, the skills of the employee, or and the abilities of the employees. And the most important is dedication of the employee towards the development of organization. That was one of the reasons why the people who were working in Japanese companies were performing more than the skilled people, the knowledgeable people who were working in US companies or other European companies. They were not performing at par with the people who were working in Japanese companies. So that dedication for making the organization more and more profitable led to Japanese growth. Then one more finding he pointed out was that the organization is also taking more and more care of the employee. That was theory Z. Now he carried out a detailed research, and the findings of the research pointed out that retention wise, Japanese companies were the best companies. They outpaced the European companies or American companies. Now, the people who were joining the Japanese company, most of them were retiring from the same company. So employee loyalty was there. Employee used to believe that this is my organization, I'll see to it that the organization earns more profit. That was the dedication of the employee. Now, same dedication was shown by the organization also towards the employees. Now, instead of giving them regular salary, or not only giving them regular salary, the organization started giving them more incentives. And that was not the end. The organization started learning about the employee needs. What more is expected from the employee point of view? If the employee will be happy if the organization is taking care of health of not only the employee, but the organization is also taking care of the health of the employee's family. The organization is not only taking care of training or educating the employee only, the organization is also taking care of the education of employees' children. If such facilities are provided to the employee, very few employee will leave the organization. And that was one of the reason why organizations, Japanese organization outpaced the American organization. And that was the reason for the growth of Japan so fast, because of their employees, the dedication of the employee. And that findings, Mr. William Uchi or Professor William Uchi listed down in his theory, and he named that theory, which is the next version or advanced version of theory X, why he came with theory Z. That no, employees are not negative. He said employees are positive, but apart from that, employees can be made dedicated towards the organization. How this dedication will come? So for that, the industrialist has to study the industrial structure of Japanese companies, or how the employers in Japanese companies are helping their companies to grow with the employees. So that was the contribution of Douglas McGregor and William Uchi with the help of theory X, theory Y, and theory Z. Now we will move on to the other contribution. Other contribution is by Henry Mintzberg, and he was of the opinion that the role of management roles, that is interpersonal, informational, and decision making. Now again, this is also considered as most important development towards the evolution of organizational behavior. Now, during 1960s or before 1960s, there the information sharing of top management with the employees was very less. How much profit the organization has earned, or what are the future plans of the organization, they used to keep those secret with the top management itself. There was no sharing of this type of information, because at that particular moment the organization used to believe that this information is not going to help the employees, so why we should share this information. So Henry Mintzberg was the person. He said that the information, the more information is shared with the employees, the employee will feel that yes, they are also counted in the organization, and their improvement, there will be improvement in their efficiency, and there will be improvement in their productivity will also improve. Next is decision making. Again, before that, before 1960s, it was believed that managers are decision makers. So decision will be taken at the top management level. So board of directors or the management, the top management of the organization is supposed to take the decision. Middle management is supposed to apply that particular decision or implement that particular decision, and the lower management is to carry out that decision actually. That was earlier believed. So decision making was at the top level only. He was of the opinion that even at the lowest level, there can be an employee who can give a best decision or best suggestion. If that suggestion is implemented, then there can be profits to the organization. He was of the opinion that if a worker is working, sorry, he was of the opinion that if a worker is working in an organization for last 10 years, 15 years, or 20 years, he might be having more knowledge about the process, about the machine, than the manager who has joined recently for 1 year or for 2 years back. Now, this particular gentleman who is working for the last 10, 20, or more than that, if he is giving some suggestion, that suggestion can be thought of implementation. The management should understand that if the suggestion is good, then only it can be implemented. It should be implemented. It is not that every suggestion can be a very good suggestion and every suggestion should be implemented. But at least the workers should be provided with an environment, with a structure, with a situation where they feel, yes, if they can also give a suggestion, and if that suggestion is good enough, it can be implemented also in the organization. Now, he was of the opinion, Mintzberg was the opinion, that if such a situation, such an environment exists in the organization, then there is no need to every time increase the salary and for motivation. If that power is there, that belongingness is there in the employee, when employee starts feeling at the lowest level that yes, he can also be a decision maker in the organization, his suggestion can also be converted into decision. If that situation prevails in the organization, there are more chances that employees will feel motivated and employee will improve their performance. So this was related to evolution of organizational behavior. If you have any query, please go ahead, or otherwise we will move forward. Now, next thing that we will be discussing is models of organizational behavior. During the evolution of organizational behavior and after the evolution of organizational behavior as a separate discipline from human resource management, number of psychologists have developed a number of models. Various models are there that we are going to discuss in our first chapter. First model that we are going to discuss is autocratic model. Then we will be discussing supportive model. We will be discussing collegial model. We will be discussing leadership model. We will also be discussing SOBC model. So in all, according to our syllabus, we will be discussing the 5 most important models of organizational behavior. So what is model? I'll just read out the slide. It is self-explanatory. Models of organizational behavior constitute a belief system that dominates management's thought and affects management's action in each organization. It is highly important that managers recognize the nature, significance, and effectiveness of their own models, as well as the models of others around them. So models are nothing but they are the belief systems of the organization. The models depicts which type of organizational structure exists in their organization. So according to the belief system of the organization may have autocratic model, they may have supportive model, they may have democratic model, they may have leadership type of model, they may have SOBC or collegial model. So 5 models we will be discussing. Now only as 2 minutes are remaining. So just a bit of homework for you. Just come prepared for tomorrow's lecture on autocratic model, custodial model, supportive model, and collegial model. And please note it one more model, SOBC model. Stimulus, organizational, behavior model, SOBC model. What is that SOBC stands for? That we will be discussing in tomorrow's lecture. So tomorrow your homework is you need to study the meaning of what is autocratic model, what is custodial model, what is supportive model, what is collegial model, and what is SOBC model. Then you have to give us, during the discussion, we will also try to find out that which model is considered as best model, whether autocratic is best, whether custodial is best, whether supportive is best, whether collegial is best, or SOBC is considered as the best model. So which one is best, that we will try to find out when we will be discussing the models, different models of organizational behavior. So please come prepared. It will be a very interesting discussion if you come prepared. And you only have to tell us that what is, which model is the best model, plus why you feel that this particular model is best model, right? So we will meet tomorrow exactly at 6 p.m. for the lecture. There we will be discussing the different models. Thank you all for being present for today's session. We will meet tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.